Bases dropped on a Wall Pass Wednesday edition of Soccer Down Here. It's April 24th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. We're taking your questions throughout the show. Use the Wall Pass Wednesday hashtag. Tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll get into all of that as we go. But, John, let's start with Concacaf Champions League last night. Tigres hosting Monterrey, and had an interesting discussion this morning on Twitter. This is where things can go sideways, and you don't expect them to go sideways when we're getting ready for a show. Right. And it was a great conversation with Andy Edwards, and Andy said, and let me go back to the beginning.
I saw this.
Because we went back and forth a little bit. And he said, and here's the problem with the Scotiabank Concacaf Champions League. It's the final of the competition, and unless you live in Monterrey, it's barely on the radar. Hard to make people care about it in the build-up, if in the build-up coverage don't match. Well, and we went back and forth on it, Univision Deportes was all over this in Spanish. Outstanding coverage from them. They had, I think, 2 hours of pregame, maybe more, along with their just studio shows, around dinner time. Tons of coverage getting you ready for the first leg of the final. All the pageantry, all the pomp and circumstance, all of it. They did an amazing job of it. So it's not true that it's barely on the radar. This is the thing about soccer in the United States at times is, in Spanish, it's 100% on the radar. It's all over the radar. It's bouncing off the radar. It's a big deal, and it should be. In English, you had to go to Yahoo Sports to watch it. I'm assuming the broadcast started probably right at kickoff, maybe just before. You didn't get the same sense that this was a big deal. You didn't see really, I'm on Twitter a good bit, and I really didn't see much of a push for this in English, to watch it in English.
Nope.
That's not going to cut it, but it's also not true to say that it's not on the radar. It's just not on the radar across the board. Soccer in the United States is bilingual. It is. Even if you're not bilingual. I'm not bilingual, but I have to pay attention to what's being talked about in Spanish, and I have to work really hard at understanding it as best as I can and being on top of it, because it's a two-language sport in the United States, 100%. And if you're only checking out stuff in one language, you might not get the full picture. I think the Spanish language outlets do a much better job of being comprehensive about everything. They cover MLS to a very good degree across the league. They talk about Wayne Rooney, and they talk about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They talk about your guys who are not Latin players. But they also talk about the stories that are specific to the Latin market. They do a great job of doing both. In English, we don't get enough coverage of what's big in Spanish, what's big in the Latin market, what's big in Mexico and Central America. We don't get enough of that. It's something that we do our best to give you a glimpse into it. We do our best to keep you up to date with it, whether it's in CONCACAF or whether it's in CONMEBOL in South America with soccer over there. We try to talk about the game around the world because it's the game. It's not bound by language. But this is something, and going back and forth with Andy, I think CONCACAF Champions League is a property that can be big for someone in English if they will properly invest and market it. That game, I don't care what language you speak. I don't care what language is being said over the broadcast. When you see those teams come out and you see every firework in North America being shot off in Monterrey, They put WrestleMania to shame, and I thought WrestleMania had set a new standard for the amount of fireworks for an event. At this stadium in Monterrey for Tigres, they shot off that many fireworks between the teams coming out and just after kickoff. It was unbelievable. Confetti, streamers, the whole package. You see that. You have it muted and you see that.
Yep.
You know it's a big deal. That's easy to sell in English if someone will buy the rights, and nobody had the rights except for Yahoo Sports this time. If somebody will buy the rights and put the right push behind it, that's going to jump off the TV screen at you. It did for me last night. I think it will for others. It just takes that investment. Somebody's got to see that this is a property they can make money with.
And that's the thing. It's right now. It's there are more networks that look at things, and at first glance they sit there and they'll go nah, and they don't see what it can be. Now, last night I was buzzing around a bunch of different things, and one of my Wall Pass Wednesday questions for everybody is based off of that. But when you go to Concacaf Champions League and you're flipping channels and something like that makes you stop, I mean, it's not like last, next, that kind of a thing. You stop, even if you're muted, and you see the fireworks, the pageantry, the confetti, and I think that they still needed more confetti on that field because all that paper was there pretty much through halftime when they finally got to clean the place up a little bit. When you see the pageantry, when you see what it means, when you see the fever that's attached to it from these fan bases, it's the culmination. It's a Title II like final, and for it not to get the extra exposure that it should be in English, I mean, it's something that is a big deal hemispherically, and for it not to get the exposure that it should, it's a shame. And for that first group, I mean, for ESPN to hop on Open Cup, it was an amazing idea. Finally, something like that happened. When somebody has their finally moment and sits there and looked at last night and looks at the back end, and if things continue the way that they are, to see a champion crowned in their home stadium for a hemispheric championship, then that magic ought to rub off on some TV executive somewhere to sit there and say, hey, maybe we ought to invest in this and show it to an English-speaking audience. But no, for me, it was something that makes your remote control stop and you put it down. And I think it's a missed opportunity right now for English-speaking networks, but I think it can also be a found opportunity for that first network that steps up, sits there and says, we need to blow this up because we've had MLS teams that have made inroads in this competition, and we can show what it means for Toronto FC to get all the way to the end. I mean, that was on TSN, if memory serves.
But I don't think this was on TSN, and that's the bigger story to me is, okay, at least in the past, so TSN had the Toronto matches. They had Montreal, they had Vancouver when they were in. That was it. Fox, going a few years back, would carry the MLS matches in CONCACAF Champions League. They didn't carry the others. The competition needs to be the story as well. It can't just be the MLS clubs. I don't care if you're an Atlanta fan, a Kansas City fan, a Toronto fan, a Red Bulls fan, whatever. Monterrey and Tigres is a big match, and it's a few hours away, and it's the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions League final. Yes, the CONCACAF Champions League is modeled after the UEFA Champions League, the Copa Libertadores, the African Champions League, the Asian Champions League. That's what they do. It's designed to make money, yes, and it's designed to define a continental champion. It's not. The money is not there on the English side of it in CONCACAF, where I think there's potential and I think there's growth that will benefit all parties involved. Liga MX, I mean, let's start with the Mexican League. you're seeing some clubs, and Santos Laguna led the way with an English language Twitter account, English language communications. You're seeing Tijuana get their matches in English on FS1, FS2. You're seeing inroads. Needs to be more.
Yep.
And this comes down to a situation for me. If you're CONCACAF, if you're, the leagues that are involved, you need to make a decision for next year. Do you want to take whatever money you can get for somebody else to do this? Or do you want to put this in a bigger window in English to make this a bigger property overall? Because remember, the United States and Canada are not the only English-speaking nations in CONCACAF. There are others. If CONCACAF did produce an English-language broadcast and then did a time buy, whatever, share ads, what have you, to get this into a wider market, better penetration on TV, or even if Univision Deportes wants to blow this up and grab those English language rights and do the SAP function and do the separate broadcast that they do for MLS, cool, something. Make it easier. And it's not a knock on Yahoo Sports. It's just, as we've talked about with the NWSL, you're having to go somewhere that you normally don't go to watch a game. And it's frustrating. It's different. It's confusing at times. This needs to be a bigger deal. And it's something where the old arguments, in my opinion, are just gone. This is a big deal for a big part of CONCACAF. It's not in English because it's not accessible. That needs to change. This was a great match last night. Monterrey goes to Tigres, gets the goal right before halftime. Nicolas Sanchez off a header, off a corner. That guy, for me, is your player of the tournament right now. Unbelievable center back for Rayados. Now the second leg.
Tigres had their chances.
Bancomer. Yeah, but they're going to have to find even more in the second leg at Monterrey. Monterrey's got a lead now. This is what Rayados have been built to do. Win the Champions League. Win league titles. Now they're 90 minutes away from winning the league title. That's a must-watch game. That is must-watch second leg. And it's not going to be easy to watch it in English. And that's a shame because this is a big deal. It's going to help MLS down the road if this is a bigger deal in English. Shout out to Siempre United as well. El Parcero Dani, one of the Parceros, has tweeted at us and says that they talk a lot about CONCACAF Champions League. They've been talking about the Clásico Regio, the Monterrey Tigres final, and how big of a deal it is. They all watched the game together last night. They're doing a reaction video this week. Check them out for the best local Spanish language content on Atlanta United and, as you see, on the game as a whole. So shout out to Siempre United. It was great seeing those guys on Monday at Re-Raw, and just keep up with all the great content they're putting out as well. We will try to do more as well, and we'll get you set if it's a 1v1 or just a separate podcast on its own to preview that Monterrey Tigres match. There's so much going on that, sometimes we don't do everything that we want to do. But this second leg is huge for CONCACAF, and we're going to talk about it, and we'll get you set for it and try to make sure you know everywhere possible that you can watch it in whatever language you want to watch it in, because it shouldn't be this hard. Please.
But, and this is a bit of a challenge for folks. Just to watch the second leg, watch it on Univision Deportes. Seriously. For the spectacle and the presentation and the energy and the passion. Their tagline, Vivimos tu pasión. It comes across on the screen.
Too. But that's another thing. That's a whole other thing. And there's no reason why it should be passionate in one language and not passionate in another.
No, I know.
And that needs to change. I love their presentation. I don't understand every word. I will put my hand up and say that. I understand a fair bit. I totally get the gist of the commentary. I know what's happening also just from watching games, but I'm trying to learn more. I'm working at it. It's something that if you want to truly know the whole picture of soccer in this country, let alone in the region, you have to go check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the presentation's great, but I want that in English.
I do too.
Like, that has to happen, and it has to be presented in this type of way, that it is a big deal, and it's a glorious event, and all of the things that go into it has to come off the screen at you. It has to be clear. And right now it's hard to do that when you're trying to find a stream to watch it either on a laptop or, cast it to your TV, and it's not easy. Make it easy. We want to be able to have this be a bigger deal because it will help MLS clubs down the road too, but it's just great soccer. It's just a great competition, and we need to talk more about it, and it needs to be more accessible for the larger audience. We'll get into more of that as we go. If you guys have questions, tweet at us at SoccerDownHere. Use the Wall Pass Wednesday hashtag. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, April 24th. It's a Wednesday. It's a busy day in Major League Soccer. Lots of matches on the docket today. So we got to get you set with the Champions, or with the fantasy update. Champions League we have you set for. We don't have a fantasy league for Champions League yet. That might be something we try to do next year.
There you go.
But Jason Wright Agency sponsoring our Soccer Down Here Fantasy League. Make sure you're checking them out. Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter, Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. You can still hop in the league and talk some trash. Your name will get announced if you have one of the best scores of the week, like Joseph Martinez uses the Oxford comma.
Still.
144 points last week. Highest weekly point total so far this season. Second for the week out of all of the people who say they are Atlanta United fans in MLS Fantasy, and 42nd out of more than 27,000 teams in all of MLS Fantasy. Joseph Martinez used the Oxford comma to great effect.
No doubt. And I'm trying to figure out, so obviously whoever they had, they captained, and you ended up with double points.
Yeah, they did good. They did good. That's what's important here. Don't VAR me, bro, did pretty well, too, 138 points.
Don't VAR me, bro.
Open League standings. Joseph Martinez uses the Oxford comma. That's number 1. FC Epigee, number 2. And number 3, it's tied between Soccer Specific Fantasy Team and Don't Var Me Bro. Pro Rel League, which is a head-to-head league. Soccer Specific Fantasy Team 7-0-1. The Jason Wright Agency, the Commish 6-0-2. Port City FC, our Sounders fan who somehow snuck in the door, 6-0-2. Your key matches in the Pro Rel League this week. You've got Holly Springs FC against Don't Var Me Bro. It's a 6-5 matchup. And then Soccer Specific Fantasy Team, your number 1 team, against Port City FC, your number 3 team.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one. Keep an eye on who comes out of that one alive next week. The Commish has some tips for you this week. It's the biggest double game week so far. 10 teams playing 2 games because you have 5 matches tonight. 3 teams are playing both games at home. That's a really good shout, and it's NYCFC, Minnesota United, and Seattle. They don't have to travel, and you get 2 games. You get double the points if your players play both games and if they play well. 3 teams are playing both games on the road: Chicago, DC, San Jose. The Commish's tip for you, and this is the Commish's general strategy. Jason tends to not pick away players in any week, and even less likely in a double game week when they're playing away both times. The exception may be a fantastic defensive midfielder with great value against 2 mid to bottom table in attacking form teams. The Commish tries to generally load up on double home game players, at least as my first choices in building the team, followed by a look at players with 1 home and 1 away game. Last on my list will be a single game week player, which will have to be a high-point attacker against a weak defense. So let's start with your 3 teams that are at home for both games, and we'll talk about tonight's action. Let's start with NYCFC. So tonight, well, let's just talk NYCFC first from an attacking perspective. Abear has gotten into the lineup, scored a goal against DC. You would expect him to probably start both of these games. Alexandru Matrica is coming back from an injury, did not train yesterday, so be very wary on him. Other attackers, it's a little hard to call. You've got guys like Ismail Tajori-Shradi, you've got Lewis, you've got Medina, who's not really playing much. For me, if you're looking at an NYCFC player, it's probably Abear, and that's risky just because we haven't seen much of him.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, you saw what Abear did in 60-plus minutes, and, for me, when it came to filling out things in salary, I've got Chanot at the back.
So you're looking at it as NYCFC hosting Chicago tonight, hosting Orlando on Saturday, that defensively they'll hold it down. So you're looking at a Maxime Chanot, you're looking at Alexander Collins, you could be looking at an Alexander Ring in the midfield. You're looking at it from that perspective, not the attacking side.
Yeah, considering that I have other dudes in my attacking side that I'm far more confident in, I figured playing at that U12, if I needed defensive guys, I'd go with NYCFC.
Okay. Minnesota tonight, they host the LA Galaxy. Then on the weekend, they host DC United. Staying away from Minnesota defenders in these 2 games. Not even thinking about it. From an attacking perspective, Darwin Quintero obviously makes a lot of sense. Rodriguez up top, I think, makes some sense as well. I would really be thinking hard about Darwin Quintero this week.
I did, but he is not one of my 2 forwards.
No, you might have messed that up, John. Just saying.
And this would be a surprise because when?
No, it's really not. But that might be a bit of a mistake. Seattle is your other one. They host San Jose, then they host LAFC. They'll be looking for revenge, but they're also coming off of kind of getting beat up a little bit. Chad Marshall was limited in training yesterday. I would not expect him to play tonight. Would not expect Raul Ruidiaz to play tonight. Probably not Will Bruin either. I have not seen an update on Bruin. San Jose is a weird team. They do give you a lot of space if you break their crazy pressure, but they can also suffocate you. And coming off of short rest, I wonder how fresh Seattle's going to be tonight. Then you get LAFC on the weekend. I would probably stay away from Seattle players this week as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a Seattle player that I would just – I mean, Ladero, just because he's that good, that's probably it.
Yeah, I didn't go with any Seattle players this week.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough set of matchups for them. The teams that are playing the other games tonight, let's just go from there. So you get Chicago, and they have to travel both times this week. Chicago was good against Colorado. They go to Yankee Stadium tonight. I think NYCFC gets the win tonight. I just don't know exactly where the goals are going to come from. You do have to look at Hebert as a possibility here. I think it's like a 2-1 type of deal, a 1-0, kind of a tight game. I don't think it's going to be a big, high-scoring pinball match, but I do think NYCFC on the field is going to be the team that walks out with 3 tonight.
Yeah, and that was how I was looking at this one. Like I said, that was looking at things defensively for NYCFC because of that pitch and because of 2 games in a week and things like that. That's why I went with Chanel and no one else.
Columbus hosting DC United tonight. If you want any Columbus players, you got to get them ahead of 7:30 kickoff because they don't play on the weekend. Who did you take from Columbus?
Stefan in net.
Okay.
And Francis on defense.
Okay. So you're doubling up. You're expecting Columbus to handle DC. You're thinking the DC slump is real, huh?
Yes, at least temporarily. At least for my roster for this week, yes.
Okay, that's an interesting strategy there, but okay. Just saying. New England hosting Montreal. That's a 7:30 kick tonight. Both of those teams. Montreal. Okay, you want Samuel Piette in that one against a New England team.
It's financial. That was a financial fit and somebody playing twice.
Yeah. So they get Montreal is in New England, and then they host Chicago on Sunday. Piette's not a bad play. Yeah. I don't think New England's going to score a lot, and then you get Chicago at home when Chicago's traveling twice this week. That's not a bad play. Piette's actually a pretty good one, and he's a good number too. So tonight, I could see New England-Montreal be a draw. Montreal is just all over the place, and they just don't have a lot going forward without Nacho Piatti back in full form. New England, they're just not that good, but they do play a style that just makes the game messy and ugly. Sometimes teams can have issues with that. The Red Bulls did, but it was only 1 goal. I probably wouldn't touch any New England players here, and I would avoid this game unless you think a guy like Piette is going to be somebody who gets you points in 2 games, and they're more valuable than somebody who's going to play once. Minnesota and the Galaxy, Ike Opara is expected back. That helps for Minnesota in a huge, huge way. Miguel Ibarra is also expected back. They're both available for tonight, according to Adrian Heath. The Galaxy have been good, and the Galaxy have one of the best rosters in the league. They go to Minnesota, then they come back and they host Real Salt Lake on Sunday night. This, to me, feels like a week that you're captaining Zlatan.
Correct.
It feels like a week where you're looking at a Jonathan Dos Santos, potentially. There's a lot of different players for the Galaxy from an attacking perspective that you can look at here.
I captained Zlatan. I plugged in Ibarra in the midfield financially and Steris at the back.
I would not have taken an LA defender yet. I don't trust them enough defensively as of yet. I think they will be better once Giancarlo Gonzalez is fully integrated into the squad, but 2 games for a defender against Minnesota, who scores a lot of goals, and Real Salt Lake, who's pretty inconsistent but can score goals. I would not pick a Galaxy defender in this at all. I would avoid that.
So what, Diallo? So financially, here's where I am. Diallo, Tinnerholm, Briant, Kim Ki-hee, Opara.
Tinnerholm. Easily. If that's your financial situation and those are your choices, for me it's Tinnerholm, because I'm not taking Steris against Darwin Quintero and Albert Rusnak. I'm taking Tinnerholm, who gets forward and can do something for you in the attack, against Chicago and Orlando. I think that's an easy choice. So if you have a good week with Anton Tinnerholm, you owe me a sandwich or something.
Sure.
Tonight, Seattle hosting San Jose. That's a 10:30 kick. Seattle gets the 2 games. San Jose gets 2 games, but they go to Seattle. They go to Dallas. San Jose, it's so hard to predict. Danny Houston's in a really good run of form. If you want maybe a budget forward, he might be somebody you consider because he has been their attack. Outside of that, I'm not picking any Earthquakes players this week. Seattle's a little tougher. Ladero is the most obvious one just because of how involved he is, and he'll be critical to them doing well this week. I think this one for Seattle tonight's really tricky because you're coming off of a game where you got punched in the mouth a couple times. And now you got to bounce back quickly knowing that the team that punched you in the mouth is about to walk in your front door on Sunday and probably punch you in the mouth again.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to not get distracted tonight against a team in San Jose who might not punch you in the mouth, but they're going to kick you in the ankles at least 50 times because they're scrappy and they're going to make life difficult for you. This feels like a potential letdown game for the Sounders, especially if Chad Marshall can't go.
Right.
It's a tricky one to call from a fantasy perspective. The only player in the match I'm even considering is Ladero, just because of how essential he is to Seattle going forward.
Yeah, I did not play any Seattle players at all on the roster this week.
So that's your Wednesday games. We'll catch you up on Friday as we do the preview and we look ahead to the weekend games. Remember, once you lock in guys who are playing tonight, they are locked. You can't take them out. They're locked into your team. So you have to make key decisions on them. And then for the weekend, if you have guys who didn't play tonight, you can make some changes up until kickoff of their matches. But this is one of those where you have to be strategic.
Yeah, I have 4 guys who are not playing tonight, and odds are I'm not changing 3 of them.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that on Friday. So
there's
your fantasy update. Jason Wright Agency presents our fantasy league. Thanks to everybody who signed up and gets involved and talks some trash. And it's always fun to see. Team names, always fun to see. Jason Wright, AGEN on Twitter. Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. Make sure you're following and supporting our sponsor. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. One additional nugget on Montreal, thanks to Mark Earhart for the reminder. Yesterday on Twitter, Arcadio Marcuzzi out of Montreal tweeted this in French. The flight for Montreal to Boston was canceled. So after more than 5 hours of waiting at the airport, players and staff have returned home, and they'll be traveling on a charter tomorrow. Not sure when they're arriving, but that is not typical flying the day of the match. Marcuzzi also said the situation as soon as commercial flights is unstable. The MLS must find solutions. A couple of things. Sometimes charter flights get canceled, too. Seattle had that issue after the Blizzard game in Colorado that was postponed, that for some reason they made Seattle actually fly to Denver. That was ridiculous. It was kind of obvious that wasn't happening. You need to cancel that earlier. They couldn't get a charter in fast enough to get out, so they got stuck. That does happen. This is something that teams are going to have to consider, and it's something that's going to come up in the next CBA. Teams need to have the option if they want to spend the money, and it is not cheap to fly charter. It is not cheap. You're seeing college programs that might surprise you that are flying commercial now for different situations. That happens. The NBA, not that long ago, flew commercial. It happens. It's a little different for a club like Atlanta with such a huge airport to fly out of. Flying commercial is really not that much of a challenge in terms of schedules and flights and having options. For other teams in the league, there's a lot of challenges, and it's very difficult. I think the league needs to open things up to giving teams the option to do what they need to do. And it's needed at this point. That doesn't mean every team's going to decide to charter every match. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think Atlanta United would charter every match if they could. I don't think they need to. But there's times where it would make things more convenient. And there's times in situations like this where you might foresee an issue coming up and you might be able to avoid it. But just opening the door to charter doesn't make everything go away. You always have travel issues no matter how you're traveling. It happens. But I do think it is time in this next CBA to figure this out and give teams options. I think you have to.
No doubt. Yeah. No, I just think that there's a time for common sense when it comes to getting from point A to point B, and if it means giving you options as opposed to limiting you in a situation, being a professional league, then that's the direction you have to go. Give them options so they can at least have the idea of saying, no, we don't want to do this, or figuring out other ways to get from point A to point B. It's something that's got to get figured out.
So there was an article over at The Athletic from Paul Tenorio about the growth of the league and all the different aspects of it. And a lot of this, with those CBA negotiations coming up. The chartered flight situation is honestly kind of a smaller piece to this next CBA. There are a couple things that jumped out to me in it. One, a league official told Tenorio that teams are spending between $1.5 and $4.5 million a year on youth development. We kind of thought that top end might be around 4, but 1.5 to 4.5, that's increasing. I think that's only going to increase. I think the league average has probably increased quite a bit. There's a great video circulating, and we'll blast it out from our account as well, of Tony Annan speaking at the Generation Adidas Cup. It was on MLS's Twitch channel. Great insight into how players are developed, and thanks to everybody who shared it with us as well. Great discussion about George Bello specifically, about how players are brought through the system, the intentional work that is done to bring young players through and how that's evolved, which is common. I mean, Barcelona evolves how they treat young players. Ajax evolves with how they treat young players. There's no blueprint to guarantee that a talent comes through and is a star. It's impossible, and it's impossible in any sport. I saw something that popped up that made me think of this last night. Damian Lillard, big shot last night for Portland to knock out Oklahoma City. He was a 2-star recruit out of high school. 2-star recruit. NBA superstar. 2-star recruit. He was committed to Weber State. People miss
J.J. Watt was a 2-star coming out of high school.
Well, I mean, we can pull out names of 2-star recruits all day. And Lillard is just one because he hit a game-winning shot last night, and it's a big deal. It happens. There's also 5-star recruits who don't amount to anything. It happens. I saw a thread on Reddit about Ben Lederman, who was a young talent who spent some time at La Masia with Barcelona. And, well, why isn't he getting called up to U17 national teams? Because he's not good enough to beat out the players who got called up ahead of him. Just because he went to Barcelona at one point at like 12, 13, I think. Now, he got caught up in Barcelona's issue with bringing in foreign talents and how that system works in Europe. It's pretty complicated about how you bring in players who are from outside your region. It's difficult to explain in our context, but he did lose some time training, and that's hurt his development. Also, he hasn't developed physically as much as other players his age have. And there is that combination of technical talent and physical ability that you need to have some of both. You can't just be one or the other. So Lederman, being at Barcelona, everybody was like, oh, well, he's going to be on the senior national team at 18. No, he's not. He's in Belgium now trying to make it. He might. He might not. There's no guarantees. Andrew Carlton, Chris Goslin, Patrick Okonkwo, Lagos Kunga, George Bello. There's no guarantees. The work has to be put in. And I thought that video with Tony Annan was really insightful about the amount of work and thought that's put in to giving young players every opportunity to reach their full potential. It doesn't mean they do. This spend $1.5 million to $4.5 million per year across the league on youth development, that's significant. The teams that invest more and do it intelligently will reap more benefits, but you can't judge it on a player-by-player basis because that's not how development works. It's on an overall basis at the club level, how many are coming through, where things went wrong and how they went wrong. One thing that Tony talked about was Bello picking up a groin injury last year in the middle, and we remember that. He was coming through, playing some with Atlanta United too. He went away to a national team camp, came back with an injury, and Tony was like, look, this is something that happens. We have to evaluate, did we work him too hard? Did the national team work him too hard? Was the communication not there on his workload enough? We need to continue to learn from this every single day because there are no guarantees. You could back a guy's workload off, he could still get hurt. You could increase a workload, player could be fine. Every player's different. Personality weighs into it, all that. So spending 1.5 and 4.5 is not a guarantee of anything. But generally, the more you spend, the more intelligently you work, you're going to produce more talent. Now you have the solidarity payments. Now you have the training compensation stuff coming in. There's returns on that investment, more returns, more ways to get a return. Those are all good things. That has to continue. Quote from Don Garber about the growth of the league. I don't think anybody argues that the quality of play continues to grow as we add more and more teams. There's no dilutive impact on quality of play with expansion. I agree with that. This next CBA, there has to be some thought into continuing that. One thing that has come up, and this is from Tenorio's article, many general managers would like to see the salary cap number triple, at least. Triple. you're talking going to around $13 million as opposed to $4 million. Now, there's ways to spend more, and you have all the allocation money. If you increase that, plus keep all your allocation money, that's a significant change. Also, they're talking about potentially increasing the size of both the senior and reserve rosters. Right now, Kansas City, you have like 8 guys hurt, and they're on roster spots, and there's nothing you can do. And you had to let guys go that were draft picks or guys on the fringe, and you had to let them go. You had to either sign them to a Swope Park Rangers deal or let them walk. Shouldn't be in that situation. If you want to have a cap, that's fine, but I think you do need to figure out, okay, add a couple of spots to the senior roster, add plenty of spots to the reserve roster. If teams want to, and they have the cap space to do it, have guys on reserve deals to keep them in the mix, loan them out to USL teams as they need to, do it. I'm all for it. These are big picture discussion points that the league will have to consider to grow intelligently, and increase that quality of play, because it is getting better. Atlanta came in, pushed the envelope. LAFC right now, pushing the envelope. Cincinnati, Minnesota, not as much yet. Miami will come in and push the envelope. I think they will explode the envelope. I really think Miami is going to go out and sign a player that will blow your mind and you will never have expected to consider coming to Major League Soccer. I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to try to do that. Let's be fair. I think they're going to try to go out and make the biggest, boldest signing in MLS history. They might not be able to pull it off. What?
Same with the coach?
Coach doesn't. I'm talking about it from a quality of play and getting buzz. Like, this was something that came up when the Thierry Henry rumor started. Like, oh, it's going to increase the amount of attention in the market, and that's going to bring people to the stands. No, it's not.
No.
Thierry Henry's not going to sell tickets being on the sideline in a suit. It's not. You need to get a good coach. And, yeah, obviously, if you go get a big-time player, you're not going to get a big-time player if you don't have a big-time manager. That's there. But, I mean, you've brought in Tata Martino and his pedigree into this league. You brought in Bob Bradley back in. You brought in Matias Almeida. You're bringing in big managers. I don't. Just because you're going to bring in potentially a European manager doesn't mean they're a bigger manager. I disagree with that completely. Tata Martino is as big of a manager as you're going to find in the world. I mean, he was hired to go manage at Barcelona from Newell's Old Boys. He went to Barcelona. Yeah, there's a Lionel Messi connection. Yeah. And he went with Argentina after that. That's giant. I mean, unless you're going to go get Pep Guardiola to come to New York City, and that's not happening anytime soon, it might happen down the road. Don't be shocked. But I don't think that's going to be the change. The change is going to be a player that it's going to be, wow, they're going to come to MLS? Okay. I don't know who it is.
Well, Thomas Gawin is resurrecting the conversation that we had at Soccer Over There at Rira, where he says that you are now confirming it's Griezmann.
It could be. I don't think Griezmann moves the needle like James Rodriguez would in Miami. I don't.
Right.
Griezmann, you could say, is a better player for sure. You could go there and say that's going to be what happens. But I think James is the perfect signing for Miami because he is an outstanding player, a player who's going to grab all the highlight reels, but a player who moves the needle as well and also opens a lot of doors to South America. I think he checks every box. And if you have monopoly money, you spend whatever it takes to get James in Miami to be your first player, your first major player. If you can't get him, hey, Antoine Griezmann sure wouldn't be bad. I don't know if he's the guy or not, but I think that's where you're headed. So back to Garber's quote before we go to break. Quality of play continues to grow as we add more teams. It's grown with Atlanta coming in. It's grown with LAFC coming in. I expect Miami to do everything possible to continue to grow that. I think Nashville, Minnesota, Cincinnati are more along the slow and steady growth, which is completely fine. Completely fine. I think Austin will be down that road too. We'll see what else happens with your Sacramentos and your St. Louis's. It's only going to continue to grow. It needs to continue to grow. The league has to be smart right now with a CBA negotiation going on about creating the pathways to grow, both with young players coming through, developing your own megastars, and more players are coming through MLS academies. Clubs have to be motivated to continue to do that and reap the benefits from that. I think that's happening. That side will continue to grow. But you also have to import talent. You're going to have to increase your salary cap. You're going to have to increase the size of your rosters. I think both of those are smart moves. And you're going to have to figure out how to bring in more needle movers into this league. Whether you're creating your own, like an Efrain Alvarez, or you are bringing them in like a James Rodriguez. This has to happen for MLS to continue to grow. That's going to get you more TV money. That's going to fuel the next round of growth, and it's going to continue the cycle of growing and growing and growing and growing. Great piece over at The Athletic from Paul Tenorio. Go check that out. It's about homegrown players being as important as designated players, but there's lots of nuggets in it about how this league is going to grow going forward. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with some of your tweets, and we'll be right back after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Final segment, hour number 1, SDH for April 24th. We've got USL Championship action tonight. Atlanta United 2 hosting the Tampa Bay Rowdies. We'll get deeper into a preview of that for you later in hour number 2. Mike Conti from 92.9 The Game joins us at the top of the hour as well. But Jillian Gaffigan had a question on Wall Pass Wednesday. Do you think the Western Conference of the USL Championship is more competitive? After 34 games last season, only 16 points separated the top of the table from the middle as opposed to the East at 30. I think both have kind of narrowed this season, to be honest. You had both teams who were leading the conferences last week go and get draws over the weekend. Portland Timbers had to come from behind to draw with Colorado Springs 2-2, and St. Louis went to Pittsburgh, and it was a scoreless draw. I think both conferences in 2019 are more competitive top to bottom. Let's start in the West. So you have Timbers 2, who a couple of years ago, John, Timbers 2 were terrible.
They were awful.
They were horrendous, and now they're leading the West on 14 points. New Mexico United, brand new team, just lost their first game over the weekend. They're on 13 points. Reno, who's been in the mix in the West for the last couple of years, they're on 12. Real Monarchs, affiliated with RSL, on 11. They've been among the top teams in the league the last few years. Then it's Sacramento. Sacramento's been one of the top teams in the league. Tulsa, who's been poor, but this year has jumped up. OKC Energy, kind of in the middle. Phoenix Rising was your Western Conference finalist last year at USL Cup. Those are all on 10. Galaxy 2, Fresno on 9. Orange County, Rio Grande Valley, Austin Bold, Colorado Springs on 8, 1 point out of the playoffs. Las Vegas Light, San Antonio on 7. And then in the bottom, Tacoma and El Paso, and they're only 3 points out of the playoffs.
Well, and RGV had a 7-point homestand. And so they were in some serious trouble early on. They turned it around at home. And then you just look at the groups. I mean, you look at 2 points separating 3 through 8, 3 points separating 3 from 10. And then if you go down low, you mentioned 3 points from the bottom with El Paso. You know, you get 3 points if you're Tacoma or El Paso, and you're in the playoff picture. So, I mean, it's tight. You've got a couple of groups, but, you know, right now you see what T2 have done in the last couple of years. And for me, it's a point that we talked about before. For Tulsa to be doing well early in the season, they've kind of faded as of late, losing their last 2. But for a town like Tulsa that has supported soccer for as long as it has, to have the Roughnecks not be at the bottom of the table and be right in the middle of things after 7 matches, I think it's good for Tulsa, and I think that it's good for the USL as well.
The East, 3 points out of the playoffs only takes you down to 13th. So let's talk about the teams below that right now. Hartford Athletic hasn't played a home game. It's year 1. They've struggled. I don't think they're a bad group. I think when they get some home games, it'll look a little better. You just wonder where the confidence is right now. 0-7. Swope Park Rangers hasn't won yet. They're 0-3-2. That injury bug that is hurting Sporting Kansas City right now, it does have an effect on Swope Park, because guys who would be playing with Swope Park on loan are not available, or they're injured. And Swope Park, who has been one of the top teams in the league in the last few years, only has 2 points right now. They've only played 5 games as well, so they have a lot of time to make things up. Charlotte Independence has been all over the place. A little surprising. They're 1-5-1. I do think with new ownership, with new investment, they just created a really cool partnership on the youth side, mimicking what North Carolina FC has done, bringing a bunch of clubs together under the Independence banner. That's going to pay off in the long run. Short term, struggling a little bit on 4 points. Memphis and Loudoun United, both brand new teams. Memphis has quality, and they've been close. They just haven't been able to pick up some of these wins. Honestly, the same for Loudoun. I mean, Loudoun's on 5 points, but their goal differential is only -2. They got their first win last week, beating Red Bulls 2 on the road, which is a big 3 points for Loudoun United. Then your teams that are close but out of the playoffs, it's Ottawa Fury, Birmingham Legion on 7. Birmingham has turned it around. They haven't lost in their last 3. Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they haven't lost in their last 5. 3 of those have draws, but Bob Lilly knows how to get a team into the playoffs in this league. And then it gets really crowded because you've got 4 teams on 10 points. Louisville City, your back-to-back defending champs. Bethlehem Steel, who's lost their last 2 in a little bit of a funk. Atlanta United 2. And Nashville SC, who went to Charleston and lost over the weekend. Charleston's on 11 with North Carolina FC, both coming off of wins. Tampa Bay hasn't lost yet. They're 3-0-3. They're coming to town to Fifth Third Bank tonight. Indy 11's on 12 points after 4 straight wins. They had struggled early. They struggled with their first loss, and they've won 4 straight. They've only played 5 games. Red Bulls 2, 4-1-1 on 13 points. They lost to Loudoun over the weekend. St. Louis, 4-1-2. They drew in Pittsburgh over the weekend, and they're coming off that loss to Birmingham Legion before that. I think the second division is just getting more and more crowded, which is a good thing overall. We'll get you set for Atlanta and Tampa Bay in hour number 2, but up next we're going to talk to Mike Conti of 92.9 The Game, talk Atlanta United and Colorado Rapids right after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here. It's Wall Pass Wednesday. We're taking your questions on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. We took your questions on Monday night at Rerod, and we ended up raising a lot of money for soccer in the streets, thanks to all of you. Over $1,000. Nick Alifi and Jessica Sharman led the way on getting the word out, putting that event together. Somebody who joined us on Monday and answered a bunch of questions was Mike
and
Conti,
was lead auctioneer.
And he's an auctioneer, which I had no idea.
Yeah, I have many hidden talents, pie eating, knowledge of useless trivia, and auctioneering. So I was glad to put that one on display. That was a really fun time, by the way. I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, we'll be doing more things like that for sure. John has a Wall Pass Wednesday question that he has been saving for your appearance.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Last night was a very busy / angst-laden evening for fans in multiple sports for multiple reasons. We had 2 Game 7s in the National Hockey League. We had the first leg of the Concacaf Champions League final. We had NBA stuff where Damian Lillard just decides he's going to wait until the bitter end to send Oklahoma City home. If you are watching or listening to a game last in a series or in a season for a sport, what announcer or announcers do you stop? And regardless of interest in the sport going in, what announcers do you stop and listen to regardless if it's a game last?
Oh, that's a great question. Wow. Mike Emmerich, I think he's the best at anything in any sport, the way that
44th Game 7 last night.
I'm surprised it's not more, to be honest with you. He's been doing it a really long time. Mike Emmerich is just, and for those of you who don't know who he is, he's the lead National Hockey League announcer for NBC. There is just something that he does. He has mastered the art of using pitch and tone and inflection to match the moment on the ice. And to me, when you have a Game 7, especially when it's 2 original 6 teams like Toronto and Boston last night, and you have Mike Emmerich in the booth, to me, it gets no better than that. That would get me to stop my remote. To be honest with you, I hate the Maple Leafs and hate the Bruins and the 76ers, who are my childhood hometown NBA team. We're playing on TNT at the same time. Now, fortunately, the Sixers blew out the Nets, so there was no drama there, and I could concentrate a little bit more on hockey. But he's the one, Mike Emmerich. I admire what he does so much. I appreciate what he does. He has just gotten better with age. I think a lot of people would be surprised to know just how old he is. And that means we probably, won't have too much more of Mike Emmerich, down the line. So it's one of those enjoy it while you last type things. I will say this, in the soccer world, I always stop when Jesus Bracamatis is doing a game on Univision, Jose Perez Navarro, Andres Cantor to an extent. But those are the guys where if I hear one of those big Latin voices calling a match, whether it be World Cup or Copa America or whatever, I tend to stop and enjoy that and savor it for a little bit too, because I find the way that they call a match, just as Mike Emmerich calls a game, so damn enjoyable, because they have been able to match their vocal work to what's going on in front of them. And not everyone gets that. For example, Mike Emmerich was doing that Maple Leafs Bruins game last night, and his partner in the booth, Mike Milbury, sounded like he was half asleep. It's not easy to be able to rise to that occasion and rise to that moment. I thought Al Michaels 2 years ago during the Super Bowl did a horrendous job of being able to match the intensity in the moment. You had a back and forth game with a lot of scoring, and Al Michaels sounded bored. So it's not an easy thing to do. And when you hear announcers that can match it, you really have to appreciate it.
Jason?
For me, the first person that popped up was Gus Johnson. On a big game, on a game that's late where craziness could happen, you're going to get fireworks out of Gus. Maybe sometimes he looks a little hard for the fireworks, which I get. That's his gimmick. That's his thing. I think that maybe was a problem for him in soccer because he didn't have that feel for the game yet. I'm with Mike. I think that Gus would have gotten it with time. I thought he was improving. I thought the Gold Cup 2013, where for a whole tournament he was paired with Eric Winalda, was excellent. I thought both of them were great, and I know Eric, and I like Eric more in the studio when he's on TV, but he was great with Gus. They were a great counter for one another. That worked well. That could have worked well going forward. He just never put Gus with a consistent partner, and I think he struggled because of it. And I thought some of the outrage from people about Gus calling soccer games was really sad to see, because I loved his passion, and I love his passion in big moments. And we were talking about that earlier with Concacaf Champions League and the way that Univision Deportes presented the Concacaf Champions League first leg of the final last night, and passion being such a big part of what they do and all of their calls and all of their presentation and their style. It shouldn't be that hard to replicate that in English, but sometimes it is, and it just doesn't happen enough for me.
Well, don't you think that a lot of announcers, who are calling soccer in this country are trying a little bit too hard to be British? And that's where I think we run into traps sometimes, because with the way that ESPN presented the World Cup starting in 2010 and then again in 2014, basically by ignoring the fact that we have Americans who are more than accomplished at calling the beautiful game. JP Dellacambra right at the top of that list. I almost feel like American soccer announcers in many respects are trying too hard to be Martin Tyler and John Champion. And that's not right
More
either.
Tyler to me.
Yeah,
and I think he's been so just the focal point. And John Champion to me is different. I think John Champion is a guy who brings you, some fire calling a match. I think Arlo White brings you a very, hybrid of the British and the American style. Our friend Kevin Egan brings you the best of both, and I love that. I think for a lot of reasons it's been a lot of fixation on a dry, quieter style, and it's not what responds to me. That's a personal taste thing. That's not a one's right, one's wrong. You can call a game in so many different ways and be effective. Jim Nantz is somebody, like, when he calls big moments, and he talked about it with Tiger at the Masters, you can screw that up very easily, and he has his way of doing it, and he nailed it. He killed it with that. And there's times that I don't like his presentation, but he was perfect for that moment.
Well, one of the things that is a lost art for announcers these days is not saying anything. The art of laying out, I think, is lost on a lot of people these days, because there's a time to talk and then there's a time not to talk. And I think, to Jason, your example, Jim Nantz laid out, that's the official term, not saying anything, laid out and let the Tiger moment at 18 breathe. Let the Nat sound carry it. Let Tiger's emotion hugging his kids and his mom carry the moment. There are times when talking is good. There are times even more when it's better not to talk. And I think a lot of folks like the sound of their own voice more than letting what's going on around them tell a story.
Yeah, but there's also times where I think they do lay out or they do present it in that way, and it doesn't match the moment.
Agreed.
So it's not again, I think, and that's what's hard about all of this, is that there's not one way to do it in every situation, because every situation is different. He nailed it with that time, but there's other times that I felt like it's been too schmaltzy, I guess is the word.
Agreed.
Or just too, there's nothing there, and it's like you're looking for the big moment to happen with the Nat sounds, and it's just not there, and it feels kind of meh. It's hard. It's a hard job. It's very hard to do. We've talked a ton about announcers. Okay, let's talk about Atlanta United and Colorado, because, Mike, we talked about going to New England, how important that game was, and Dallas maybe had a little bit different feel because you got the 3 points in New England. This game feels like the most tense I think the atmosphere has ever been ahead of an Atlanta United regular season match.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's necessarily the biggest match they've ever played. I don't think it's the most important match they've ever played, but this is absolutely the most angsty that I think an overall base of support for Atlanta United has felt coming into a match. And tense is a very, very good word, because there have been so many lofty expectations that have not been met yet. Now you have a wounded, bruised Colorado Rapids club coming in that people are looking at saying, wait, they're 0-6-2. They've given up the most goals by far of anyone in the league. You should blow these guys out. And that makes me nervous when I hear people saying that, because I don't think a lot of people are taking into account that Colorado does have goal-scoring quality. And Colorado, if they were to get an early goal, something that you foretold on the full-time report last Saturday, Jason, they get an early goal, they're going 5-4-1. They're putting everyone behind the ball, and they're going to make it a grinding, plodding, almost impossible, type of match for Atlanta United to play through. Yep. So I'm nervous, because I could absolutely see, an early set piece, maybe a weird call by Alan Kelly, an early set piece, Kai Kamara scores, it's 1-0, 10 minutes into it, and now Colorado can park the bus. And Atlanta United's not been able to solve that problem all year. I think a lot of people are taking Colorado for granted, and that makes me nervous, because I think a lot of people are expecting Atlanta United to go in and win this 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, something like that. And I don't think Colorado is going to play in such a way where Atlanta United is going to have an easy time creating, almost 3 expected goals as they did last week against Dallas. I don't think Colorado will play that way.
So, and as we've been seeing this run of form and anticipating results and then not happening, I think that the word that came to my mind was the fan base is, I don't know if edgy, just on edge. I think
angsty.
For me is
angsty.
Angsty for me was a good way to put it. And I think that the fans that show up on Saturday are just as key to carry the guys as we've seen, in the last 2+ years. I think that they are as integral to lifting the guys up and getting that result and getting them over all of these elements that are there and, getting them over all the whoop-de-doos that are on the motocross course right now. I think that the 7 teams are just as vital this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. You don't want opposition to come into the Bends feeling unafraid of the atmosphere. I thought the atmosphere on Saturday from the very beginning, even before Atlanta United conceded, was just very quiet, very subdued, very unusual. I don't know if that had anything to do with the fact that it was a particular date on the calendar, but it just felt very, very unlike what we come to expect, a very loud, engaged atmosphere for 90 minutes. I did not like seeing thousands of fans streaming to exits after the second goal. That's not what we come to expect here in Atlanta. So the fans have got to be better. The fact that the players have talked about this a couple times, I think kind of backs up your point, John, that this club is relying on the fan support. You need Mercedes-Benz Stadium to be a hostile atmosphere. You need it to be a place in which teams are afraid to come play. Hasn't been like that this year. On the other hand, Atlanta United needs to give their fans a reason to get into matches early. They did against Cincinnati. They got the very early goal. Then they didn't really play very well after that. And I think our fans feel the game better than most. They feel the match. They feel what's going on in front of them. And Atlanta United has to give them something to feel positive about. So, we'll see. I think the ultimate key is you can't concede, and you certainly can't concede early. You can't give up the first goal, and you certainly can't do it in the first 20 minutes. And that's an unusual way to think about approaching a match against Colorado, who's 0-6-2. But I think that's the point that we're at right now, where goals are not coming easily for Atlanta United. So it might be a little bit of hold on and duck and cover for the first 20 minutes, and hopefully you're still standing with no score after 20 minutes.
Who are you looking to provide that spark and change the narrative a bit for Atlanta?
Escobar, because I get the feeling he's right there with the 90 minutes fitness. My guess would be, Jason and John, that Escobar would be looking at a start at left back on Saturday. I say that because even though Bella was back training, I can't imagine a situation where he could even be 60 minutes fit for Saturday. Now, again, I'm assuming. I don't know. No one's told me. But you're not starting him if he's not going to give you at least an hour. So I think Escobar could be potentially that difference maker where he introduces an element of speed. He can maybe make it a little bit wider. And it's just something different. I'm actually really tempted to not tinker too much with the lineup because the expected goal numbers, the shot numbers, the chances created, that all speaks for itself Saturday against Dallas. That all was working. I don't want to take Barco out right now. I don't want to take, Gressel out necessarily. It would be interesting if Pitti told you he could give you 90 minutes. That would be interesting. I think if that's the case, you might be looking at taking Gressel or Villalba out of the starting 11, but I don't want to make that assumption. It feels to me that Escobar is a little bit closer to 90 minutes than Pitti, and Escobar could be that guy who just makes it a little bit different for you on Saturday.
Then let's get into, I guess, the continuing evolution of Ezequiel Barco as your 10. What's it been like for the two of you to see him over these last couple of weeks? Just, we can go back as far as New England and talk evolution in a short term, but from what you guys have seen with Barco in the booth over the last couple of weeks, what's that been like to see? I'm not going to use the light coming on, but to see his evolution to this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's a light coming on. I think he's just confident now. Don't you, Jason? Yeah. We have gone through great lengths to explain how disjointed his season was last year and the high expectations he had with the price tag that Atlanta United paid for him, it's understandable that he probably came out of 2018 where he was essentially a super sub at the end of the season with not a lot of confidence. Now he's getting games. Now he's producing because he's kind of growing into a comfort level now at the number 10. And it feels like his confidence is growing by leaps and bounds every time he touches the ball. And these are things that Jason and I don't want to speak for Jason, things that I think I saw in preseason, especially the match we did when they played against Xolos back in February. You just see a different level of poise and confidence on the ball with him. And to me, it's just a matter of giving him more games now, giving him more matches. I think he's won that job. He is your number 10 for the season, as far as I'm concerned, barring injury or something unforeseen. Now you just have to consistently play him. I think it'll help to get into a rhythm in the month of May where you're playing a lot of midweek matches. And let's see that confidence blossom even further.
I think that confidence honestly started building back last year. I don't think he came out of last year with a lack of confidence. I think it was a reality check, the off-the-field stuff, and Tata Martino's very strong punishment of that. I think that was very intentional from Tata to give him, a wake-up call that, hey, we need more, and you need to give us more, both on and off the field. And he had a role in the playoff run. Wasn't the role that he would have come in and chosen, but it was a role that he came in to the playoffs with and embraced. And I think every time he came out and did what that role called for, which wasn't in his skill set really coming in, it wasn't what you expected him to be doing in an Atlanta United kit, he was, I'm sure, praised. He was praised publicly by Tata and by other players, but I'm sure behind the scenes he got a lot of praise for embracing that. I'd be willing to bet that there were some pretty serious conversations after the season with both players and with the coaching staff as they were leaving with Barco, because everybody wants this guy to succeed. If you love the game, if you love the way that the game can be played in a very creative, artistic, just beautiful way, Ezequiel Barco is a player that you embrace, and you want to see him succeed. I think everybody in the club had that idea coming into 2019. And now that he is getting more time, he's getting more of the ball, he's not in a differential role to others in the team, he is the player you play through. And I agree, I think he's won the 10 job, but I don't think that necessarily means he'll be playing in the same place on the field every week. And I think that's something that, you get deeper into what this team is going to be and where they're going to go. Sometimes you're going to play him in different spots, and that could change in a match to take advantage of what the opposition's giving you or showing you. But I think he is the guy, in terms of what the 10 role is, where you want to play through him, you want him on the ball in the final third with as many touches as possible. You want him delivering the killer pass. You want him to create opportunities for others and sometimes for himself. He's that guy. He's that guy that you want leading the team in touches in the final third. He is that conductor. And he's grown into that role. He had that role in Independiente, and he did it from the wing. Here he's grown into that role in a variety of different positions on the field, and I think that's only going to continue.
And I know that we all, we're all sitting here. We want to see players succeed. And I think that the biggest thing, once again, is not to get wrapped up in formation when it comes to what someone is doing. Just because you see something on a sheet of paper, just because you see something that you think is going to be something and it ends up being something different, doesn't mean that that player is locked into that role in that graphic on this corner of the piece of paper. And when you have someone like a Barco who can be that conductor in a free run role and all that kind of stuff, don't get locked up on a piece of paper or on a fancy graphic that sits there and says that someone is going to be in a certain place.
But I'm excited about it. I mean, it's exciting to see because Barco can give you that individual magic like we saw in New England. And he can be that difference-making player, and we saw it in New England. We saw it against Dallas. He was a difference-maker against Dallas. 5 shots, 6 drawn fouls, twice hitting the post. He's someone that can, as one man, as an individual, change matches. And it's something that we saw him do at Independiente, and I think maybe we were expecting it a little too early here in Atlanta, but it's coming now. And this is what gives me hope about Pity Martinez. The more time that he spends here and gets comfortable not only with his team, but living in the United States, the better it will be for him. And hopefully the patience will pay off on Pity. I think part of it right now is just getting him fit and healthy and 90 minutes match ready. And I don't know if he's there yet. But I think Barco is kind of the symbol, and I hope our fans and supporters will understand this. Barco's kind of that symbol of why it's important to be patient and not make snap judgments after just a few matches, that these things do take time. And after a lot of patience and a lot of time and some frustration, we're seeing the payoff now to that investment in Barco. And to me, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's the same whether it's a guy like Barco who came in with a high price tag, a guy like Pity Martinez who's older, comes in with a lot of hype, or a guy like Andrew Carlton, who's a young guy coming through. It doesn't happen at the same pace for everybody, and that's just how any sport is. It's not even just a soccer thing, and it's not an MLS thing. That's just some players take a little more time to come good. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do immediately. There is no magic switch to flip. It is just a process, and sometimes it does take a little bit longer than all of us would like. Today, you can ask more questions to Mike and I, along with Jimmy Vance, on Stoppage Time over on Facebook.com/929thegame. And we'll get into some whiteboard stuff. We'll get into anything you guys want to take us into, and we'll get you ready for Colorado there. Looking forward to it, Mike.
Yeah, as always, and looking forward to hearing you guys tonight on ATL UTD2 against Tampa Rowdies. That's going to be a fun one up in Kennesaw.
Yeah, definitely one. We'll get into that in the next segment, what to look for there. Mike, thanks as always. We'll be talking to you on Friday.
See you guys.
Take a quick break. We'll be back after this to talk Atlanta and Tampa Bay Rowdies.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolensky of Apolensky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Well past Wednesday. Match day for Atlanta United 2 tonight Tampa Bay Rowdies come into town. The Rowdies are undefeated. They're 3-0-3. Atlanta United 2's on 10 points, right in the thick of the Eastern Conference playoff race, coming in off of back-to-back wins. Looks like we will be seeing quite a few first-team players in the lineup for Atlanta United 2 tonight. One that we might not see is Anderson Asayadu, who, according to Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution on Twitter, is training with the first team this morning. I think it'd be unlikely that he would then play tonight, although crazier things have happened. I'm not going to rule anything out just yet. But what are you looking for tonight in a really big Eastern Conference match in the USL Championship?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that obviously practicing yesterday, the names that were out there, I'm looking at integration. And for me, I always know that, having to kind of get your feel into a match sometimes can take a little while. And so because of that, Andrew Tonari scored, I want to say in the 15th minute in their last match a week and a half ago at home. And that held up until almost the bitter end. And so I think that once again, not giving up the early goal as you're trying to figure out and find yourself on the field, I think for me that's big. But I mean, you look at a John McCarthy who's in net for Tampa, and you may as well just call him Mr. Clean Sheet because of what he's been able to do this year. Tampa Bay's defense has been solid, and with him between the sticks, it's going to be tough. And one thing you're going to see is that McCarthy does wear the soft helmet, and he has the soft headwear, and he actually got that from his first match his senior year at LaSalle, and he got a concussion, and he stuck with it ever since. And so you're talking, 9 years, I think, that he's worn the soft helmet. But I think that when you've got a solid keeper like McCarthy, you've got a defense like they've stacked, and an experienced roster like they have with guys like Guanzati, and I know that we'll talk about him on the broadcast. You've got Leo Fernandez, Zach Steinberger's on the bench, friend of the show, Tonari, Dominic Goduro, and you've got this experience once again coming in against a youthful side like Atlanta United too. I think it's going to be an interesting clash of styles with Neil Collins, at least from the birth certificate point of view. So I think that the first 15 to 20, I always say it's kind of critical, but I think that because of the roster going up against a veteran side, I think it's going to be an interesting look for that first 15 to 20.
Yeah, Tampa's only conceded twice this year, but they've drawn 3 of their last 4 matches. The last one was against Louisville City, 1-1. They conceded late. They played a 3-5-2 in that one, but it's not a traditional 3-5-2 in some ways.
It was like a Christmas tree or a candle, like a candle in a candlestick formation almost.
I don't know what that means. I have no idea.
It was like you had a 3-5-2, but then when they dropped 5, you had the 5 at the back, and then you had a couple in front of that, and then it was like a 1-1-1-1 at various points. So I mean, it was a bit of an odd look. So it looked like a candle and a candlestick holder.
Yeah, it shouldn't look like that very much. That could have been in some very specific situations or some breakdowns. The 3-5-2 will be tested a little bit tonight because Sean Barry on the right side makes it really work as a wing back. He has an ankle injury. He is doubtful for tonight. One player I'll be looking at for Tampa Bay, Caleb Richards, 20 years old. He's on loan from Norwich City. Developed at Blackpool, moved to Norwich. He's mostly been out on loan. He can get forward. He can play as a center back or as a wing back in this scenario. Shows the value of the partnership that the Rowdies have struck up with Norwich City to be able to bring a guy in on loan like that. You pair him with a couple big solid center backs in Tarek Morad and Pape Diakite. 2 guys with a lot of experience at this level. It's their second year with the club. Morad won USL Cup with Louisville City in 2017. Diakite's played all over the world. You get those guys in the back to hold things down in front of a goalkeeper like McCarthy, who I think is an MLS level, talent. He was at Philadelphia behind Andre Blake, could have stayed, decided to go get more regular playing time. And then, of course, Blake gets hurt this year, so we'll see if maybe he could have stayed at Philadelphia, got that playing time. But he's doing really, really well with Tampa Bay. Then you look at them going forward, and Guinzotti is a guy who has been a star in the second division for a long time. Leo Fernandez, I think, is one of the best players in the USL Championship. Dominic Oduro is a very talented holding midfielder who makes a lot of this work. Not the Dominic Oduro with pizza shaved into his head, not the speedy forward that we know from Major League Soccer, the 24-year-old from Ghana, Dominic Oduro, who was in Manchester City's youth system, came out of the Right to Dream Academy, has played in Denmark, has played in Belgium, has played in Sweden. He went to Seattle, didn't make it, played in USL League 2 with FC Golden State. He's a very good player. Good passer, but he can also shoot from distance. Oduro is one of those guys that doesn't jump off the page at you with the Rowdies, but his ability will make things difficult for Atlanta. So if Tampa comes in and they do have to figure some things out with Barry out, it'll probably be David Najim who comes into the lineup, former New York Red Bulls 2 player. His brother plays for Memphis 901. That's probably your right-sided player. Do they stick with 3 in the back? Do they go with a traditional 4? Do they go with where it sits more and it looks like a 5-3-2? Guinzotti's going to be in a free role. He can go wherever he needs to go to find the game. You have a lot of other players in the attacking side of the field who are very fluid, very flexible. Leo Fernandez likes to stay out wide, but he can cut in on the dribble and be difficult. It's a very talented team. Very talented team top to bottom. And that's not even getting into guys like Tenari and Steinberger who are just solid pros at this level. So Atlanta United 2 will have to find that cohesion early. And I'm assuming that Andrew Carlton will be a big part of the squad tonight, a big part of unlocking one of the best defenses in the USL Championship. Andrew is in a race to try to make the US U20 World Cup squad. He wants to be on that team. He's been part of World Cups before at the U17 level. He wants to be there as part of this group. He has to show that he can beat some players out to get there. And he's competing with guys who are getting regular minutes. This is a big opportunity for him against a very quality opponent in Tampa Bay. What does the rest of it look like? You know, we've seen a lot of Will Vent lately. Wouldn't be surprised to see him with another run out. The back line, it's going to be some combination of Lawrence Wyke, of George Campbell, of Wesley Dacus. Is it 3 in the back? We've seen that sometimes. Is it 4 in the back with 2 of those 3? Maybe 3 with Wyke playing as a right back. A lot of people talked about it from the weekend with Michael Parkhurst playing as a right back who would step forward but also tuck in and make a line of 3 when your left back would go. Wyke has done that with the 2s as well, and he's a player that can give you that type of flexibility. I'm really intrigued to see how Atlanta starts in this, how aggressive they are out of the blocks against a team like Tampa Bay that is very secure defensively.
And for me, I'm also looking at set pieces from Tampa. When you have the height that they have at certain spots, Diakite is an example at 6'5", and your backline guys 6'2", 6'3", and 6'5". I think that set pieces might be a way for Tampa to try to put something in the back of the net as well. So, the first 20 minutes in set pieces for me are points A and B.
Yeah, looking forward to it. If you can make it out to Fifth Third Bank Stadium at Kennesaw State, please come out and join us. Should be
action at the fraction.
Action at the fraction. Jeez. That's just so horrible. So horrible. I've got nothing for it. Yeah, something like that. Fifth Third Bank Stadium, Kennesaw State. Tonight, 7:30. Come out and join us. If you can't make it, you can watch on ESPN+. We'll have your call there. It should be a really fun USL Championship match. You've got a couple other games in USL tonight as well. Galaxy 2 in action late night. That's another team with a lot of young guys to keep an eye on. So you've got MLS, 5 matches. You've got 3 in USL Championship. Your night is set if you're staying home and watching the Plus.
and make sure that you have all of your devices properly battery-tized or plugged in. And
Battery-tized?
send us
What does that mean?
fully charged batteries.
Battery-tized?
Battery-tized, like deputized. Like make sure that you're officially a deputy. You're officially batteried at 100%.
No.
I want pictures.
Yes,
Now,
I do want pictures, yes.
I want pictures of people with multiple screens going, and let us see what you're watching, and we'll retweet them as well, and then we'll talk about them tomorrow.
Yes, and if you can explain battery-tized to me later, that would be great. We're going to take a
100%
break.
charged, fully battery-tized.
All the other descriptions work just fine. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. We'll get into your questions and anything else that's popped up in the world of American soccer right after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here. Well past Wednesday, taking your questions on Twitter at Soccer Down here. If you have them, throw them our way. Getting you set for a busy night of action across the soccer landscape. What else are you looking for out of Atlanta United 2 tonight? Is it individuals? Is it system? Are there any academy guys you're really keeping an eye on? This is a big moment, I think, for the Twos in that you have a lot of individuals who are fighting for time with the first team or more time with the Twos, but you also have, maybe for the first time, a big game in the league table for Atlanta United too.
I mean, for me, yes, we know that it's about wins and all that kind of stuff, but it's also about development. And for me, it's about seeing the continued growth of someone like a Lawrence White, to see what George Campbell can do. Is he going to be in tonight's match? Is he going to be one of the anchors at the back, or is it going to be 4? Is it going to be a 3-5-2 where he has help on both sides? I like what I've seen from White. I mean, Wesley Dacos, I've loved what I've seen from him. And then you look at someone like a Benitez and what we've seen from him. And there are a lot of guys that we've seen this season, and Dacos in a shorter sample size. But I like what I've seen from them. I like what I've seen from Jackson Conway up top, what Will Vint is settling into in the middle of the pitch. And for me, it's a combination of the guys that have been brought in out of college, like a Wyke and the academy guys, and seeing where their goals are continuing to not in the offensive sense, but in their mind about how they want to continue to grow their game and how they're going to continue to mature on the pitch up at fifth, third. So for me, I like what I'm seeing out of those guys at the back. And then, can Andrew Carlton's game continue to improve? So I guess for me, honestly, we could sit there and look at each name on the roster, and you and I could sit there and say, okay, looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing and how his game is going to evolve. Can Dacus keep the momentum up that he's had and really showing that he's a boss on the edge? Can Campbell and Conway, who I don't think can even vote yet, continue their upswings when it comes to what we've seen from them this year? So for me, it's just a continuation of growth and maturity on the field. And in a game against a veteran side like Tampa, can you continue to be who you've been to continue to further what the team has been able to do in addition to what they've been able to do themselves? But I mean, honestly, you and I could sit there and run down the roster and go, okay, yeah, this guy. We've all seen some positive things. Can they continue that momentum, and can they continue that growth?
So we've got an Easter egg for you in the broadcast tonight, and this is going to go out only to people who are listening on SDH.
Here we go.
In the USL News and Notes segment, there is a song referenced, and what you have to do is tweet at us when you see it. It is a song from 1990. I don't want you to tell me who the artist is. I want you to tell me what movie it was featured in. And tweet at us during the broadcast when you see it in the halftime segments in the USL News and Notes. And let us know what movie that song was featured in, and we'll send you a prize. But yeah, that's your Easter egg for the broadcast tonight on ESPN+. Going to be a fun time. I'm really looking forward to this game because I think it'll be a good one, and it's two teams that both approach the game a little differently. Atlanta wants to control possession. They've done a good job of that so far in the USL Championship. Tampa Bay, possession's okay. It's not that big of a deal. They're pretty vertical. They don't knock the ball around a lot to create chances. Their possession's roughly 50-50 this season. But most of their passes go forward. They are pretty direct. So we'll keep an eye on how that goes up against the back line for Atlanta that's pretty young.
Yeah, and one other thing to keep an eye on where the Rowdies are concerned is they kind of let the game get under their skin sometimes if they're getting frustrated, and keeping their emotions in check is something that Neil Collins is going to have to continue to talk to them about. And you go back over the last couple of matches, and it hasn't cost them yet, but they have a tendency to let things get under their skin and not be as calm as they should be at points.
Yeah, they have a problem with that at times. Let's take a break, come back, wrap everything up on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Tweet at us. Final time for questions right now at Soccer Down here. We'll be right back after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Final segment, Soccer Down here, well past Wednesday, April 24th. Got a couple questions in the Twitter timeline. John, what's up?
Well, let's go back to the ATL UTD2 discussion we were having last segment. Kevin from Charlotte, who we don't know if he's still in Charleston, he says, I want/need to see Carlton put his stamp on the game. Want to see a consistent 90-minute match where he's effective from start to finish. I also want to see his flair and personality show in the game. Complete performance.
Yeah, since Kevin from Charlotte is sometimes from other places, I think we need to know where he is tweeting us from on a regular basis.
Yes.
That needs to be added. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this is if you want to make a U.S. U20 World Cup roster, you have to put your stamp on the game. That can be done in a variety of ways. It's not just Andrew Carleton scoring a hat trick. It's not just Andrew Carleton with 5 assists. It is a complete performance. It's work defensively. It's work off the ball. It's work on the ball. It's being impactful on a regular basis. And that's what Carleton has to give you tonight. And this is one of his last, real big opportunities to, make an impact on Tab Ramos, who will be picking that U20 team coming up soon. The U17 team was announced for the upcoming CONCACAF Championship. It's in Bradenton. No Atlanta United players part of that U17 group. Your big names that popped up there, Gianluca Busio, who's been doing very well for Sporting Kansas City. Giovanni Reina, who has left the NYC Academy and will be moving to Europe very soon. Ricardo Pepi, who has been a star for North Texas SC in USL League One. And Griffin Yao, who made his MLS debut over the weekend, who has scored for Loudoun United in the USL Championship. More players playing more minutes professionally than we've ever seen out of a U17 U.S. national team.
Allison Cupertino, going back to our Mike Conti segment, she says, great point by Mike about the crowd last week. It did not feel like a normal match day. There's a great clip of a San Jose hockey player last night talking about how the fans carried them through that game, still cheering after the game ended. It matters.
There's a great clip of Brandi Chastain riling the crowd up as the team came out.
Yeah, she got to open the door last night.
What's the deal with the opening the door thing? I mean, I guess it's a big deal, but it seemed kind of strange.
Yeah, no, what in San Jose, what they do, how in certain NHL cities you get to welcome the team out on the ice, and they do it in various ways. In Minnesota, you always have the celebrity person sit there and say, let's play hockey. For the Seattle Seahawks, it's about being the person who raises the 12 flag.
Right.
In other, NFL places, it's,
such.
Yeah, that kind of a thing. So in San Jose, since the Sharks come skating out of a shark's mouth onto the ice, they have to do something else. And SAP Center doesn't really have extra space to do things. And so what they do is you're there to be the person who opens the door so the team can come out into the runway and then go skating out onto the ice. And so Brandi Chastain from San Jose got to open the door for a Game 7. So she opened the door last night for the Sharks to let them come out through the Sharks' mouth and go out on the ice.
That's pretty cool. The thing, yeah, it's a playoff game, so there's a different vibe, and I get that. It is hard to compare and expect the intensity to be the same. It did feel off, and I think it's because of the results before. I think it's because of concerns. I'm just surprised that it's felt off so quickly after a championship. The that's just been surprising. The negativity has been a little surprising that quickly. I hope it's a learning experience. I do, because what happened last year, you can never guarantee, no matter how much money you spend, no matter who you hire as a manager, no matter how many superstars you have on your roster, you can't guarantee that ever. It's special. And I hate to see or hate to think that it has to be that or people aren't as engaged. It's okay to be frustrated and question things. That's a good thing. But the support in the stadium is needed. I do agree with Allison there. It has an impact. It has a bigger impact than you probably think it does. I think it has a bigger impact in soccer and hockey and basketball to a lesser extent. I think in soccer it has its biggest impact because it's constant. It's not big roar on a third down play. It's not a big roar trying to catch a team off sides or whatever in the NFL or in college. It is that time that you're tired. You've run 8-9 miles in a match. You've played the weekend before. You're on short rest, and you are gassed. And you need a boost in the 80th minute, and you get it from your fans wearing your jersey, screaming their heads off. That does give you a boost. You don't hear every word, but you feel it. And you also feel when it's flat. I think it's not that there's a responsibility because the team has to earn that. I feel like the team did earn it with the championship not that long ago, and I don't think there's been any hint of the team not working hard, playing hard, what have you. So I hope that Saturday it's just a louder, more intense atmosphere, because I think the team needs it. They need that lift. Not in this case because they're tired. In this case, they need that lift because they haven't had the results they've wanted. They're frustrated too, probably a lot more frustrated than the fans are. They don't want it to be like this. This is not what they expect. They want to win every game. They want to win every game in style. They want to win every game with tons of goals. Hasn't happened right now. So give them that boost. I think coming out and being very engaged and loud and intense from the opening whistle will be really important on Saturday. I think it'll go a long way to giving this team the lift that they need. The Utah Royals got that lift in their home opener in the NWSL, 18,000 for them.
How cool is that?
Over the weekend. It's awesome. It's a 1-0 win over Washington Spirit, a very good Washington Spirit team that's trying to knock the Royals off to get into the playoffs. So that's going to be a battle that I think we'll see. And that's 3 points for the Royals. That's big, and it's a big crowd for them. It really sounds, like we're making things up when we say, like, oh, the fans have, it's not a responsibility. The fans, have an impact on matches. They do. They flat out do. And players will tell you that. So take that on and be excited about that opportunity. The louder that the fans get, the more engaged that they are, the more they can help their team out. No, they don't score goals. The players have to do that. But that boost of energy can be really effective. One other note before we go, we haven't talked about it this week. We've mentioned Luciano Acosta quite a bit and his contract situation. Sebastian Salazar on ESPN's broadcast on Sunday reported that DC United has made him an offer. He's out of contract into 2019. He can sign a pre-contract in the summer window. There's an offer on the table. Doesn't mean he's going to take it. I'm kind of thinking he's not going to take it. But DC's making an effort to try to fix this. I just think they've waited too long. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. And yes, there are rumors out there from multiple sources about Atlanta United players potentially moving. I haven't heard anything concrete. The stuff about Darlington Nagbe came up in the offseason. It was mentioned by Matt Doyle in a Q&A on MLSsoccer.com. Doyle didn't give any information that he's hearing things. It was just said that he's not ruling out a trade for Darlington Nagbe. Nagbe was asked about it yesterday. He said you need to talk to the club, which, yes, is factually correct. He didn't say he was asking for a trade. He said he's coming in and doing his work. I don't know what else he's supposed to say in that situation. And the rumors out of Argentina on Pity Martinez, as somebody pointed out yesterday, those rumors popped up about Ezequiel Barco as well. They've popped up about most players from South America in MLS when they're not lighting the league on fire at different points. I'm not putting any stock into it. River Plate and the conversation around River Plate is insane and crazy and massive, and you're going to have these things happen. I'm not putting any stock into that until there's something more concrete. I haven't seen any situation where Pity Martinez looks like he doesn't want to be here. He's in pictures with his teammates off the field all the time, hanging out with Leandro Gonzalez-Perez, hanging out with Eric Remedi, hanging out with Franco Escobar. I don't think that's somebody who's looking for a way out. It's just me, just my opinion at this point. Things can change. You're going to have a window come up, and if the results are where they have been, it's going to be a really interesting window. It will be. That's what happens to teams who aren't getting the results that they need. We'll see if Atlanta can change that narrative starting on Saturday against Colorado. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Later today, stoppage time, 2 o'clock, facebook.com/929thegame. I'll be on with the midday show at 1:20. And then at 7:30 tonight, ESPN Plus, Atlanta United 2, Tampa Bay Rowdies. Join us on hand for some action at the Fraction.
Boy.
No, it hurt to say that.
Multi-screen experience, take pictures.
Yes, watch on ESPN Plus along with all the MLS action tonight. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata.